The Delivery Man's Rise Part 1. Rain trickled down the edge of Zhou Yi's worn-out helmet, streaming along his already soaked delivery uniform. He stood at the entrance of a luxury residential complex, holding a now-cold takeout order, eyes fixed on his phone as overdue alerts and abusive messages from the customer kept popping up. "You crawling here or what? It's 20 minutes late. Believe it or not, I'll file a complaint." Zhou Yi took a deep breath, wiped the rain from his face, and pressed the doorbell. The door swung open almost instantly, revealing a middle-aged man in silk pajamas, face contorted with rage. "Sorry, sir. The rain was heavy today, and the traffic." "Shut up." The man snatched the food bag. "You low-class people always have excuses. Do you know how much this meal costs? Can you afford to waste my time?" Zhou Yi lowered his head, rain and sweat dripping from his chin. He was 25 years old and had been working as a delivery man for 2 years. After dropping out of college, he tried many jobs, but found food delivery, though grueling, barely enough to support himself and his mother. "I'll file a refund for you now." Zhou Yi fumbled for his phone. "Get lost. I can't stand the sight of you." The door slammed shut with a bang, nearly hitting Zhou Yi's nose. Back in his 10-square-meter basement room, Zhou Yi threw his drenched uniform to the floor and collapsed onto the bed. His phone vibrated, a penalty notice from the platform. Due to the customer complaint, he was suspended for 3 days. Damn it. Zhou Yi tossed the phone onto the bed and buried his face in the pillow. It was his 3rd complaint this month. At this rate, he wouldn't even make enough to pay the 2,800 yuan rent. His mother called. Zhou Yi steadied his breath before answering. "Zhou Yi, have you eaten?" "I have, Mom. Business was good today." He tried to sound upbeat. "That's good. About my medication this month, I know. I'll transfer the money tomorrow," Zhou Yi cut in. "Just take your medicine on time. Don't worry about money." After hanging up, he stared blankly at the ceiling. Several boxes of instant noodles sat in the corner, his meals for the next 3 days. He checked his bank balance, 632.5 yuan. After sending 500 to his mother, he'd have only 132. 5 left to survive. The next morning, Zhou Yi rode his bike to transfer the money. The post-rain sunlight was glaring, and he squinted as he crossed the street, failing to notice the oncoming truck from the right. In the screech of brakes, Zhou Yi felt himself lifted into the air, then slammed back down. His last awareness was the screams of onlookers and the wail of an approaching ambulance. When Zhou Yi opened his eyes again, the piercing white light made him shut them immediately. "You're awake," a stranger's voice said gently. "Don't force your eyes. Take it slow." A cool hand touched his forehead. Zhou Yi tried again and managed to open his eyes. A nurse was checking his foredrip. "What happened to me?" "Car accident. Concussion. Fractured right arm." She quickly noted some numbers from the monitor. "You're lucky, no internal injuries. You'll be discharged in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Zhou Yi tried to sit up, but pain made him gasp. "No, I need to work." "Don't move," the nurse pressed him back down. "You can't work like this." Lying in bed, Zhou Yi desperately calculated the medical bills and lost income. What about his mother? The rent? He didn't even know where his phone was. 3 days later, a police officer brought his belongings, including his phone with a shattered screen. Zhou Yi shakily turned it on. As expected, there were debt reminders and platform messages. But a text from an unknown number caught his eye. "You've been chosen. Look closely at the world, you'll see differently." Frowning, Zhou Yi deleted the obvious spam and began dealing with overdue bills using his left hand. On discharge day, Zhou Yi dragged his still-healing body to a supermarket, intending to buy the cheapest noodles. When he picked up a pack of braised beef ramen, a number flashed before his eyes, 8.5. What the hell, he muttered and put it in his basket. Just then, the store announcement came on. Dear customers, due to raw material cost increases, some products will be repriced tomorrow. For example, Master Kong braised beef noodles will rise from 5 yuan to 8.5 yuan, Zhou Yi froze. That number, 8.5, he saw it before the announcement. He glanced at other items. When he looked at a bottle of cooking oil, the number 129.9 flashed. He stopped a store clerk. Is this oil going to get more expensive? The clerk looked surprised. How did you know? It's going up tomorrow, from 99 to 129.9. Zhou Yi's heart pounded. He had a hunch, maybe he'd gained some kind of ability. With his remaining 500 yuan, he bought as many soon-to-rise items as possible. A week later, by reselling those products, Zhou Yi earned 3,000 yuan, more than a month's income from deliveries. More miraculously, he found his ability wasn't limited to groceries. Passing by a gold shop, a number flashed in his vision. Gold prices were about to surge. 3 months later, Zhou Yi moved out of the basement into a clean apartment. By predicting the fluctuations in goods and financial markets, he had amassed his first small fortune. Yet, he never forgot the mysterious text and the accident that had altered his fate. One day at a flea market, he browsed for valuable antiques. A white-haired man was selling an ordinary-looking porcelain bowl marked at 2,000 yuan. When Zhou Yi looked at it, a number flashed, not a price change, but a valuation. 8 million. He crouched down and carefully picked it up. Sir, this bowl, passed down in my family, the old man coughed. If it weren't for medical bills, I wouldn't be selling it. Zhou Yi's hands trembled. 8 million. He could easily buy it and resell for huge profit. But the old man's weary face and the words medical bills made him hesitate. Sir, Zhou Yi put the bowl back, you should have this professionally appraised. It might be very valuable. The old man's cloudy eyes brightened. You really think so? I recommend going to the city museum. Ask for Professor Zhang. Say. Zhou Yi sent you. He scribbled his number. If you still want to sell it after the appraisal, contact me. A week later, the old man called. The bowl had been authenticated as a Song Dynasty imperial artifact, worth around 8 million. Grateful beyond words, he insisted on giving Zhou Yi half the money. I can't accept that, Zhou Yi declined. But if you want, I can help you find a trustworthy auction house. The old man clasped Zhou Yi's hands tightly. Young man, people like you are rare. My son, when he was alive, was just as honest. Turns out, the old man had lost his only son to cancer the previous year and his wife long ago. As Zhou Yi helped him arrange the auction, a deep bond formed between them. At the auction, the bowl sold for 9.5 million yuan. The old man immediately pledged 5 million to cancer research and kept the rest for his retirement. Xiao Zhou, the old man said, holding his hand, I have an old friend in finance. Heard you're into investing. If you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you. This old friend turned out to be Lin Shicheng, the CEO of one of China's top investment firms. When Zhou Yi met the finance tycoon in his luxurious office, his palms were sweating. Old Chen says you've got a good eye, Lin said, sizing him up. Tell me, young man, what do you think will happen to crude oil futures next week? Numbers flashed before Zhou Yi's eyes. He took a breath. They'll go up, at least 12%. Lin raised an eyebrow. Interesting. All major institutions are forecasting a drop. Why do you think otherwise? I have some special analysis methods, Zhou Yi said carefully. All right, Lin suddenly smiled. I'll give you a 1 million yuan test run. If you're right, we'll discuss further cooperation. If you're wrong, consider it a paid lesson. A week later, crude oil prices rose by 13.2%, just as Zhou Yi predicted. Lin personally called to invite him to join the team. "You've got talent, kid," Lin said as he poured a glass of expensive whiskey in a private club. "Work with me, and I'll make you a billionaire in 5 years." Zhou Yi stared at the amber liquid in his glass, his mind flashing back to that rain-soaked delivery boy, cursed by customers half a year ago. He still didn't know what that car accident and mysterious text meant. But one thing was certain, his life had changed forever.